Power is always dangerous.
Winter is coming.
I'm getting lost in the details of nothing.
Remember the first time you saw Star Wars? We were still living at your mom's house.
A scientist named Baxter Stockman has created a robot meant for hunting rats called Mouser. Shredder mass produces the robot and programs them to hunt the biggest rat in New York, Splinter. Shredder wants Baxter dead because he knows too much. Michaelangelo finds out about Krang. This is Season 1, Episode 3 of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, A Thing About Rats, and you are channel surfing with the bargain bin. Description from IMDB, we will not be holding back on spoilers. I am Sandro, and I'm joined as always by my podcast partner in crime, Ben, and the Newfoundland Nightmare, Justin Newhook.
Yeah!
I knew to give you a chance to do that this time. So, what did we think?
It's definitely not top of the list for me.
Sandro, I think you feel the same way.
I choose to refrain on commenting at this moment.
Okay. Yeah, I figured.
Well, that's not the point of the podcast, but okay.
I really enjoyed this one, guys. Mainly because it is terrible.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah. Episode 3 is not when you want to let your audience down.
Well,
and I think for the most part, that's what happened. But I actually really dug it.
Why'd you dig it?
The animation. The presentation of Stockman's house, like that weird castle kind of thing on the hill.
That's not Stockman's house.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
Like an abandoned house that Shredder goes to and then forces Baxter to. When they actually send Baxter home, or not send him home, but he goes home later in the episode, his apartment that he's opening is like this dilapidated building in like an industrial complex. If you look at the background, like every window is smashed out.
Is that like an old warehouse maybe?
Well, he says he's going home.
Yeah.
Oh.
But it's also things like errors in animation, like Donnie's talking, but his bandana's orange.
His Mikey's. That was on my notes, yeah.
Yeah.
When did that happen? I only caught one of those errors.
Okay, yeah. One.
In the van when he's talking, they drive off and Donnie leans up over the front seat and talks to Raph and Mikey. And when it cuts to just Donnie, what he's saying, I can't remember exactly what he's saying, but it's Donnie's voice, and even the camera, the angle of the shot, it's definitely him. But he got Mikey's like yellow bandana.
Oh, because at the very, very end of the episode, Donatello is talking from the back seat of the van as they drive off, and it's Raphael's voice.
Yeah, no, it's bad.
Oh, didn't even pick up on that. Yeah,
but that was the only one I picked up on.
The abandoned mansion that I was talking about earlier, when that like tube from the Technodrome comes up, and that weird drill thing irritates the shit out of me.
Why?
It doesn't make sense. It's way.
How are they supposed to get to the surface?
Come on now.
You're being ridiculous, dude.
I'm being ridiculous?
Yeah.
Yes, I am. You're right. But it pops through the floor, and Shredder comes up with that box. And he opens it up, and I'm expecting something high tech, and it's like got a weird reel to reel tape. I'm like, oh, this is real lo-fi. And then he hits a button, and the flap opens on the bottom, and drones fly out. I'm like, what are we doing? This technology makes no sense whatsoever. Although, very good job at predicting the future.
Did you not hear what he said when he sent out those drones?
No.
He's like, I need to find a new source of technology. As he's sending out these drones.
Yeah.
You just came up through the ground in a drill from the Technodrome. You need to find new technology. You have technology. Later on, you have a machine that scans technology and replicates it. You have everything you need. Also, you want to talk about the Technodrome being weird because of the drill. The very first shot of the Technodrome when it's moving, do you notice what happens?
No.
It drives through an area that looks like an underground city.
Yeah. So that's what threw me off. I don't think that's what it is. No, it was underground, wasn't it?
I went back and looked at that scene a few times, and those are definitely shaped like buildings with windows and stuff, and it's the underground.
That's what threw me off. I thought they went above ground. So it defeats the whole purpose of this thing.
Missed out on that one altogether.
It was a weird like background animation style. It was like, yeah, it didn't make any sense. It's like I don't know if they used the wrong plating. They meant to use like the cave plating, but they used a backdrop of a city somehow. I don't
The
know.
city of the mole people or something like that.
Yeah,
You know, they're all gone now.
yeah.
I have to say, so far, this is the most traumatizing episode of this show for me.
Why?
Because right after what we were talking about is the introduction of the Mouser, the robot created by Baxter Stockman, who I hate this version of Baxter. I love the Fly version we get later in the series.
Dude, spoilers.
Oh, come on. 1987. Get your shit together. But like you see him release the rat into the maze, and the rat's going to get the cheese, and he gets a piece of cheese and rips it off and shoves it in his face, and he's loving life. And this little Mouser robot is just wandering through the maze. He's trying to figure out where to get the rat. He's looking around, and then just starts busting through walls of the maze and just bites and bites and bites its way through until he finds the rat and then just eats it.
Yeah.
And Baxter's like, see? You're like, yeah.
I'll see it again in my nightmares.
Yeah, I'm 5. I'm 5 years old.
It was one of my first notes. It says, we can't hurt humans in the first episode, but animal abuse is okay.
Animals and robots, fair game.
Apparently.
I'm very curious about the size of this Mouser, because as soon as Baxter gets thrown out of the building, the thing is way larger than what was in that maze.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And the part that I find hilarious is that, like, after this guy kicks him out, which the sign even says side door, because you put the pest control company out of business, Shredder, who's just now watching him from the abandoned warehouse, like, bamfed onto the scene and is already there. And I'm like, how did he get there?
Yeah.
Well, it's because he has like 7 drones just sitting there somehow.
He got there pretty quick.
Yeah.
So anyway, all the while, though, the turtles, who are clearly like, it's a continuation from the last episode, and you can see how much the 5 episodes really are kind of connected.
Yeah.
They are struggling to find the Technodrome again. Did we not discuss in the last episode how giant this thing is and how the tunnel goes one direction? They couldn't just go back to the point that they were at yesterday and follow the tunnel.
No, they have to go up.
Why?
I don't know. So like Raph and Mikey climb up a ladder, almost get hit by a train, fall down onto Raph and Don, and any smart viewer is like, well, why? What is happening here? Before any answers given, they're like, well, let's just cut back to Shredder and him analyzing a Mouser in a machine.
Didn't they have to go talk to April or some shit?
Not yet.
Oh, I thought that's why they were going up top.
No, this is them still searching for the Technodrome. Because the next time we see them, Raph falls down after a pipe breaks and he gets like sprayed in the face with water.
And he goes, they aren't paying me enough for this.
Yeah. All the while, April is back at the like lair with Splinter, and she's telling him, hey, I gotta go. I spent the last 3 days in the sewers with a giant rat and 4 turtles. I have to go see if I still have a life. And that's when like the first 12 Mousers attack, and the turtles have come back to save the day because they couldn't find the Technodrome.
Right.
This brings me back though, because one thing we didn't see is that where Shredder takes Baxter Stockman is to the abandoned house to make a larger control to control all of the Mousers.
Mm-hmm.
So the machine that Shredder is using scans a Mouser, mass produces them, and he uses it to send them to go and find Splinter.
Yep.
Does that not already sound like a master control?
Yeah.
What are you building?
But he built the master control. So then he just used those 12 to send them off.
But that's not that where Shredder is in the Technodrome. Baxter's building control in the building up top. They're 2 different devices. At least you could say Baxter needs to build like an amplifier or something for it, but like,
oh yeah,
Shredder already has a machine that can control the Mousers.
Yeah. I'm curious to know why, when he mass produces them, that he stamps Baxter Stockman on all of their feet.
I thought about that too, because obviously it's a big hint for the turtles later.
Yeah.
But I feel like he said that the machine just replicates the one exactly. So I think maybe the machine saw that stamp on the first one and is just mimicking it over and over again.
Fair enough.
And it's also a way for him to have no connection to it if it has somebody else's name on it.
Yeah, there you go. Set that up.
I feel like over the course of these few episodes, we've learned that Shredder is a terrible villain.
Yeah.
And
Undeniably.
I don't think I'm giving him enough credit to stave off the heat by putting somebody else's name on these. Because in this episode as a whole, he is very underwhelming.
Very.
But we do get a bit of foreshadowing where he has another conversation with Baxter. And Baxter tells him, like, I hope you fail over and over and over again until you build my body. Because that is the flimsiest excuse for what happens at the end of the episode.
Oh, you're talking Krang.
Krang.
What did I say?
Baxter.
Good job, Sandro.
I don't know, man. You know what I meant.
But yeah, Krang is still complaining about not having a proper body yet. I think what we've seen up until this point, there is one absolutely terrifying scene. And it makes no sense because the Mousers are supposed to be a very uniform robot extermination service. And when they burst out of that building, they're all just snapping in random directions. And it looks like what you would expect from dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. Like it's pretty fucking great. Probably my favorite scene of the show. It actually gives some weight to this potential enemy that we know the turtles are going to defeat because of the turtles. But it looks really good. Probably the best intimidation scene of the series so far for me.
Yeah, we got to build the Mousers, which will become like one-hit fodder for the turtles from here until eternity.
They're better than Roadkill Rodneys, though.
I'm still convinced Splinter should have been able to take 12 Mousers out himself.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he trained the turtles. There's still a lot of hinting at him being efficient with combat prowess, and he is going to lose to 12 Mousers.
Okay, yeah, he's efficient. He strikes a pose and then face plants in front of them. Like, he full-on takes a dive.
Did you see the problem?
I don't remember that.
That is my problem.
Well, good for him that the turtles happen to be terrible at finding the Technodrome and have just conveniently come back from their last expenditure, and they dispatch the Mousers with absolute ease.
I love how Leonardo just swings on the pipe and then hooks Splinter with his legs and just rides him through the air, and we never see them land.
Yeah, that is a weird image.
It's a really weird scene, man.
But Raph has probably the best kill in the episode yet again when he stabs two Mousers and then smashes their faces together. Because Raph is the best.
I don't know. I like Donnie driving his bow through two of their heads at the same time.
And he never does that.
Donnie is the best. Yeah, no, he does.
No, he has two hanging off his staff and hits them against like the wall.
Yeah, that's how... Okay, they bit it? I thought he drove it through their heads.
No.
Okay, fine. Jesus.
Yeah, you don't even know what you're praising.
You hate Donatello.
I don't hate him. Just know that he's not the best.
Sure he is.
Wow, this is getting out of hand.
Justin?
What?
Insight?
Mm.
Wow. Thanks, man.
I can see that he is absolutely gripped by this episode.
Yeah, I said before we recorded, it was very underwhelming to me.
But you probably don't have the same nostalgia for this. Like, this episode for me is one of the episodes that I've seen the most out of any Turtles episodes.
Really?
By choice, or just because that's when it came on TV?
No, when I was a kid, I had one Ninja Turtles VHS. It was called something like Hot Rodding Teenagers or something like that. I got it for like a birthday, and it was literally a VHS with just 2 episodes on it. This one and episode 4 of season 1. So as a kid, right, you know, you don't have a lot of movies, VHSs, whatever. If the Turtles weren't on TV, these were the ones that I could throw on. Which, the really weird thing about this VHS that I could never figure out, even as a kid, is why for some reason, when you put in the VHS, it plays episode 4 and then episode 3.
Couldn't tell you, man. I remember the VHS being really weird. I believe you were talking Hot Rodding Teenagers from Dimension X, which is the next episode, and that's the title they gave this VHS.
Yeah, and those were the 2 episodes on, but they were in reverse order because literally the first scene of the next episode is like talking about the events of this one.
Yeah. The one thing I found really weird about this episode is it gives you specific dimensions of the turtles. And like when they run past April going into her apartment, she's trying to relax in her house coat, whatever, getting out of the shower. They look so tiny.
Yeah.
And you think about seeing them in the film, the first movie in like 1990, and they're human-sized. I don't think seeing like 3.5 or 4 foot turtles would be nearly as intimidating.
Absolutely not. You'd be like,
Yeah.
oh.
Exactly, right? You just kind of want to hug them.
Yeah.
I think you need to realize that proportions are constantly wrong in this. I mean, they can't get
they really
the right
are.
color of the bandana for the voice actor, let alone accurate sizing.
Yeah, like when they're in the fight and the Mausers are holding on to Michelangelo's nunchucks. They're trying to make it look like he's spinning them around, but it just looks like the way they do it, it just makes the nunchucks look like they're stretching and getting shorter. And it's just even the chain, and you're like, what?
Yeah, animation is inconsistent at this point. Like they're doing the best they can, but it's definitely not. Even if you go to like say season 2, where it's become a phenomenon now, they clearly have more money to spend. This is a pilot 5 episodes. Let's scrap together what we can and hope for the best. And really, if you analyze these 5 episodes, there's a lot there that really is just like, even if this doesn't take off, we're going to introduce stuff in every episode to sell new toys or compensate somehow.
Yeah, 100%.
In this episode, you get the Foot Soldier's motorcycle, which I remember being on the market. I mean, you introduced to Baxter, but that's not the version that comes out for the toys. And
Mausers.
Yeah, every single episode has something new that is easily part of the first wave of toy lines. And that's what this really is. If it didn't take off, they probably still would have been content with it. Because this came out at the time where most shows were just an avenue to sell toys.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a few things happening right now in the show that always made me question what I was watching. And that is, I believe it was Michaelangelo talking to April. And he's just standing there and then reaches behind his back and pulls out a Mauser skull.
Well, his shell is like a book bag, isn't it?
Yeah, and then he just tosses it to the side. And then I think it cuts to...
Yeah, he tosses it to Leo.
To Leo, yeah. And then it cuts to, I think, Raph taking a painting off of the wall and like looking at it and turning and looking behind it like he doesn't understand how paintings work.
How do you plug this in?
Yeah, exactly. And like,
what?
What is happening?
I like how neither of you guys questioned that they didn't even put on disguises to go to April's this time. They just showed up as turtles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine being on the other side of that door when they knock and she's coming to open it. If someone's just like, there's 4 turtles and a rat standing in front of that door. I'm just going to go the other way.
Yeah.
What I actually wrote down is that the turtles more on the apartment. Raphael wants to plug in.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Raphael wants to plug in a painting of a toaster. Michelangelo burns instant pizza. Leo is using lipstick for target practice. Dawn is messing with her telephone and looking incredibly confused by the entire ordeal.
Amazed by it. He's just pressing every button.
Yeah, and he's listening to the message from April's boss, who's like, you're supposed to be on in 10 minutes, because I guess April just doesn't have a job anymore. And then Raphael fills a bathtub with a cap full
of soda or
bubble bath or whatever.
Bubble bath.
Right? But honestly, the amount that he puts in wouldn't matter if he just shut the water off after the tub was full.
Yeah.
This show is terrible.
When Donnie was listening to the answer machine, I took it as he was just getting more and more shocked about what was going on in her life. I didn't take it as him being amazed at like what he was doing.
Okay.
I mean, it's very possible.
That's the way I took it. I was like, it's way overselling it, but like that's the way I took it.
Well, even when she leaves Splinter earlier in the episode, and Splinter is like, you go home, whatever, take a shower, whatever, right? And he's like, I hope we haven't interfered in your life too much. And she's like, only totally, and then giggles. It's like, yeah, you've completely flipped it upside down in these last 3 days.
And that whole like apartment scene, they were playing like music in the back, and it just reminded me of Golden Girls type music for some reason. But it was playing it throughout the whole. It was more so. It was just the typical '80s montage music in the background, just joyful, and then they're just doing, like you said, moronic things.
In the meantime, April is going to get information on Baxter for them. And there's a lot of cutting back and forth here because we see that Baxter has finished the machine and he wants to go home and sleep. And Shredder tells the foot soldiers to snuff him out and follow him. So kind of setting up where these two paths are going to cross, right? Because April brings the turtles the like address, tells them to go, and Baxter's going home. And you're setting up for that collision course, right?
Mm.
Yes. I have to say, right before we see that army of Mausers come out of the Technodrome, you see the turtles walking through the sewer area. There is a problem I've had with this entire episode, and that is that the pupils of the eyes of the turtles all look askew, and they all look kind of dumb. When you see Dawn leading everybody through the sewers, it's the same with the other turtles, but the look in Donatello's eyes is like, I'm gonna murder everyone tonight.
When it cuts to him and he's trying to look like to his right, but it looks like he's looking up and over and back. And
yeah, it's the only time. Like, I love Donatello, you guys know that. It's the only time I've seen him in this cartoon look intimidating, and it's not like he has a mission. It's like, this guy's unhinged and shit's gonna go down.
Yeah, it looks like he's reached his breaking point.
Why? He did the least in the apartment out of all of them. He just.
It was just the way his eyes looked, man. It was very intense.
I thought you would bring that up, Sandro, because you're right. He hasn't done anything.
Maybe that's why. He's like, he saw what they did to that apartment. He's like, oh, I'm so sick of you guys. Even you, Leo, you're supposed to be the responsible one. What are you doing?
I kind of like the idea of the Mausers, especially an army of them.
I'm an adult watching this show and not a kid anymore.
Yeah.
When you see the giant army of Mausers, and I'm like, how much material did Shredder have available for this machine?
Yeah, that's a great question.
But he sends out the Mausers, and he has a line that just totally encapsulates how bad of a villain he is. He says, it feels so good to be so bad.
Oh, that for me, that's Army of Darkness, man. They totally ripped that line from this show.
Sure, but they did it better.
Yes.
Because coming from Shredder at this point, you're like, oh, okay, dude.
Yeah, they definitely dropped the ball in certain points in this episode. Like, at one point, Raphael is holding up a manhole cover, and out of nowhere, a foot soldier just runs face first into it and falls down the sewer, and he just drops the manhole cover back into place. And you're like, what?
Yeah, the foot soldiers are stupid too.
Yeah, but like, it didn't do anything.
This is exactly after this. Like, the turtles had saved Baxter from the foot soldiers at his house. And that manhole cover scene was part of that fight.
Yeah. But tying him to a lamppost seems odd.
Did you realize how he got the information out of him?
Do tell.
Raphael says, you don't want me to get sarcastic. And then Baxter just spills everything.
Threatens him with the sigh.
I was going to say, a sigh will do that, though.
Yeah.
He was already holding the weapon.
Yeah.
But it wasn't close enough to his face.
Oh, I don't know what I was thinking. Well, then the turtles just commit Grand Theft Auto because they steal his van. Just flat out take it.
Commandeer.
No, they take it. They never give it back.
Yeah, the thing is, like, they're also amazed by everything they find inside of it. Like, oh, this is great. Let's just steal this shit. This is ours now.
Yeah.
You know this is the van that becomes the turtle van, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
They never give it back.
Poor guy's still tied to a lamppost.
Who frees him?
That's a question.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Doesn't matter for this episode. The Turtles have maybe their first stroke of genius here, where instead of being idiots looking for the Technodrome, they realize, well, Baxter just said there was hundreds of the Mousers. We need to go back because April and Splinter are in danger. This whole episode is about people arriving at the right time.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. And what really annoyed me, though, is like they munch through the rock walls in the cave like it's nothing. And then apparently April has enough time to run and go wake up Splinter's lazy ass and get him up so that they can awkwardly fight in the house together.
Yeah, she has a pot and a rolling pin.
Yeah.
I fear we're about to meet our ancestors. Shut up and just start fighting.
Yeah. So blunt.
This is not the time to be like, for some reason, these walls are way tougher than the rock. So you got enough time to go wake them up and have a good chat about what's about to happen. But then they finally come through.
My massive problem here is that the entire building collapses. The entire brick building collapses.
Yeah.
And they all survive because they're swinging from ropes from a crane above the building that we didn't know existed. And it logistically makes no sense.
Thank you for bringing that up. I was going to bring it up and I was like, then I thought maybe not. But I'm very glad you brought that up because like I did crane school and just like the logistics of that. I was like, that doesn't make any sense at all. You wouldn't leave it over the...
Did crane school?
I did. Yeah, I didn't. I'm a qualified crane operator.
No, I get that. I totally respect it. I did not expect to hear anyone ever say that in my presence.
So you guys remember how much earlier, episode 1, I said, oh, it's a running joke all series about these weird pizza toppings that the turtles eat. And if you're generous and you include them just putting breakfast cereal on pizza, it's happened twice in 3 episodes.
Okay.
I don't remember in this episode.
No.
There isn't any in this episode, but you know what there is?
What?
The second entire building coming down.
That's a good point. You're right.
And you know what? Later in the episode, the abandoned building goes down. So they've had 3 toppled buildings in 3 episodes, but only 2 of these supposed running entire series jokes, I said. I'm ashamed of myself.
That's okay. You love it. I respect it. I don't get it, but I respect it.
I respect it.
Michaelangelo, his interaction with Krang, it just seems so strange to me.
You've really jumped ahead, dude.
I'm sorry. It stuck out to me the entire time. Like him even like sneaking into the building and then getting that the rifle barrel like poking him in the nose. Just
see, that was a part I thought you had to bring up.
Because it was.
Michaelangelo opens the door, looks left, looks right, goes to step forward again, and then Shredder points the gun against his nose.
Mm-hmm.
Did he not see the Shredder then when he did his scanning of the room? It's like Shredder Pearl Harbored him from the front.
That's what I was going to ask you. And I'm sorry for jumping ahead, but it's been a problem for me this entire episode. I've been waiting to bring this up.
Okay.
It makes no sense. None. But why is Mikey now our solo turtle? I always found that weird.
They're outside.
Well, yes.
They had the idea to go turn off the master control. That's what Baxter told them. And now that they got April and Splinter, they can go. For no reason at all, Michelangelo's like, yeah, we'd fare better inside if it was just one of us instead of the 3, because Don was going to stay outside with the... Somehow Donatello knew how to create a control for the Mousers from... Whatever, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me started. I love him, but it doesn't make sense.
But at this point, like, Michelangelo saying, yeah, we'd fare better if it was just one of us, is him volunteering. But it's like, no, 3 of you would do better.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But also they got that control because Baxter, when they had Baxter tied up, he's like, I have a control, but he's making a master control.
Oh, so maybe Donatello didn't build one; he just amplified its power or something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, that makes sense. But like, Raphael and Leonardo stay outside because Donatello obviously is going to control the remote and stay with, Splinter and April. For some reason, not in the van. So Raph and Leo are just doing nothing while Michaelangelo is doing his terrible breaking and entering.
I have to say, I love seeing Donatello freaking out when the Mousers are approaching the van, and all he can do is just keep smashing the one button on the controller. He's just waiting for something to happen. This is their tech genius, and he just keeps pounding it and pounding it and pounding it.
What you didn't know is that's how he's controlling the Technodrome.
Oh, yeah. That weird tendril from Krang that comes out and unties Mikey actually made me feel uncomfortable. Like, I thought it was super gross.
Yeah.
And I don't remember this happening at all.
This whole part of the episode is confusing to me.
Okay, good. Me too.
Because, first of all, Shredder wants to kill the turtles. Typical cartoon villain just ties Mikey up instead of shooting him. I get why it didn't happen on a kid's show. But then I said it again. Then Krang releases Michaelangelo and even shows some concern for the other show. He's like, there's no time. Your friends are in danger. Because he wants Shredder to build him a suit. Even though Shredder said, if I get rid of the turtles, I'll build you your suit.
Yeah.
I think he knows his bullshit, though, now. I think he's figured it out. He's just towing him along.
Maybe.
Entirely possible.
That's what it felt like to me.
Then you see Mikey confront Shredder. And for some reason, the animation gets janky. And Mikey's proportions just morph all over the place.
I told you, you can't get caught up on the proportions.
Oh my God. Then he just runs at a wall and headbutts his way through concrete.
Yeah, and this was after Shredder, being the amazing villain that he is, falls for that stupid, try to shoot me, I'll dodge out of the way and you'll destroy your machine. Like, Shredder sucks in this show.
Yeah.
Other than the voice actor, Shredder is just proving to be very, very unintimidating.
And I don't remember this as a kid. I remember Shredder being very intimidating. I remember him being a great villain.
It's because of the voice.
Yeah. Rewatching it, he's terrible.
Oh, yeah. And then I guess because Shredder shot the controls, Donatello sends all the Mousers at the building and the building falls down. And yet now we got to 3 collapsed buildings. And I guess Krang knew to also escape when Shredder did, so that he's not crushed by the building.
Yeah, it's because Donatello pressed the button. That's why all that happened.
He made it look like he pushed multiple buttons and somehow commanded them to turn around and attack that, but it was just one button, and I think there was like an arrow there too, which made no sense to me. But
that's kind of when the episode ends. We don't see the Shredder or Krang again. The turtles find Mikey in the debris. Raphael looks under a pile of something and says the Technodrome is gone, and then they just drive off in the van again.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like the only other part here is that the turtles find it somehow unfathomable that there's a talking brain, considering they're 4 talking turtles.
Yeah. This is GTA TMNT. Really?
And again, like, that's 2 episodes in a row that seem to have these just random, like, the episode just ends.
Yeah, you expect them to go down to their lair again and just like do this stupid little pizza concoction stuff or something, but nothing. It just like ends. You're like, oh, all right.
Yeah, that's 2 episodes in a row, and I'm with you. Like, I feel like, at least my memory of this show as a kid is that there would always be like a little wrap up, and maybe often in the lair, you know, eating or laughing or whatever, like kind of giving you a little bit of a nicer spin. But 2 episodes in a row, we've seen that doesn't happen.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, feel like we got a bit of a interesting question here on individual highlights, because I feel like this could go either way, good or bad highlights.
There's two for me.
Okay, is it
Really?
one of each?
What, like highlight and lowlight?
Yeah.
Just stood out weird.
Not to put you on the spot or anything.
Yeah, no. When they're in the apartment and they go, "Oh, it's Baxter Stockman," and then she's like, "That's all you've got? A name?" And then she goes into her back room that has all these files and everything, and she hits 3 buttons on a computer, and all of a sudden she has the information. Like, what? Like, why did you give him so much shit then if it was that easy for you to just go in and do?
I think she was just more frustrated that she was trying to get away from them for a little bit, and within like the span of a shower, they're now back at her door.
Yeah, so then the second one, they're going down in the sewers, and all of a sudden, I think it's not Leo because he's out of the shot. It's just the 3 of them again. So I think Donnie's talking about, like, they're complaining about women, and all of a sudden, Donnie goes, "You know women," and Raph just stops and looks and is, "No, we don't." And it was more of like, "No, we don't."
He even says, he's like, "This is the first one we've ever met."
Yeah. Raph was just, this whole episode to me just seemed like he was just too nice. Like, it was not Raph. Like, I don't know if they got complaints or something. Well, they probably would have had all 5 episodes done before
I would imagine
they
so.
released it. But yeah, I don't know if someone just came in and watched like the first 2 episodes and some producer just like, he's a little rough around the edges. Like, that's what Raph's supposed to be. Like, he's way too nice in this episode.
Well, we all know that Ralph is the best.
Oh, Ralph is the best.
I would have to say my highlight is the introduction of the Mauser, just breaking through the walls of that maze and eating that rat. Like, this is Cronenberg shit for children.
See, I don't think it eats the rat, though. I think it just traps the rat in its mouth.
Okay, fine. Whatever. It doesn't chew up the rat and digest it, but it grabs the rat in its mouth. And then...
But the tail is still sticking out and it's flailing around. It is pretty terrifying.
It is. And the follow-up to that being the army of Mausers surrounding Baxter's van with everyone standing on top of it. That really reminded me of an 80s horror film. I'm like, that I love that. That looks so good.
Just replace the Mausers with zombies, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I thought that was great. Sandra, what about you?
This is going to sound a little weird, but like, I've seen this episode many, many times. And the one thing that always stuck out in my mind is in April's apartment, like how you referenced that Mikey just randomly pulls the Mauser head out of like his shell belt, I don't know.
Yeah.
And tosses it to Leo. There's an animation of Leo just juggling it off of his bicep that has been burned in my mind since I was a kid.
I don't remember.
Okay.
That's it. That's all.
I don't remember that either.
That it happened.
Also, Raph calling Mikey anything other than Mikey felt weird to me, and he calls him Michaelangelo when he finds him underneath the door.
I think it's when he's trying to be more serious. Mikey is for the like goofy, lighthearted times when he's cracking jokes, but here he's actually concerned for his brother.
I guess.
All right, we got one last thing to do, guys, and it is to rank the episode. As a reminder, we have it currently where episode 2, Enter the Shredder, was the best, followed by episode 1, Turtle Tracks. And I'm going to lead off by saying that this one goes on the bottom.
Yep.
See, the biggest issue with this episode, outside of the storyline, like just not really doing anything to evolve past like the same, we're going to look for the Technodrome and we're going to make Shredder turn Splinter back, is that it also lacks even like the fight scenes the other ones had. Like, there's a couple of fight scenes with Mausers and a very short one with the foot soldiers, but they're all minimal. And I kind of want more action when I watch this show.
Yeah. Kids' cartoons aren't difficult. Episode 3 should not be a filler episode.
Especially in a 5-episode season.
Exactly.
There should be no filler episodes.
Yeah, no, they really messed up with this. And
yeah, like it feels like there was like some executive came in and was like, hey, we need to show a little bit here.
I think you guys just cracked the case of why this episode was second on the VHS. Because nobody would have gotten to the next one.
No.
We need to get those potential toy ideas out there.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. They just wanted to release the freaking Mausers, and they just rushed it.
Yeah, well, look at everything that was jam-packed into the first 2 episodes. There's a lot.
Yeah.
That they marketed, for sure. And then the third one, the story is lacking, but you've got the Mausers. So let's go with that. And then
the only other thing I can think of is the foot soldier's motorcycle was also on the market.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I feel like with hot rodding teenagers from Dimension X, they didn't really market that well. So I'm really curious to see how the next episode plays out.
Well, we'll find out next week. And until then, have a good one.
All the best.
Bye.